My name is Ralphie Gardner. I'm the event coordinator with the Mahern Honors College Alumni Master, and we're proud to present our speaker, Telia Butler. So everyone give it up for Telia Butler. Now, Ms. Butler was born and raised here in Bowling Green. She graduated from Western in 2012, and during her time here at Western, she was a communications intern at Alumni. And then she graduated with a bachelor's in editorial news, editorial journalism, and history. Currently, she works with the Professional Marketing Association of Bowling Green Board of Directors as executive. That's what else is. And is the membership and marketing director at Ulster. Once again, welcome our speaker, Telia Butler.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. I can't believe that I'm here. When Dr. Cobain reached out to me and asked if I wanted to talk about my experiences at the Honors College, and afterwards I thought, oh, someone's actually interested. And thank you to my favorite professors for coming back. Thank you, thank you. The journalism department and the history department is represented, so I hope that I can do you all proud for all that you all have done for me. And I've got a little bit of a presentation. It's not a whole lot. It's mostly just photos kind of going along with the whole life story of how all of this started. And hopefully by the time our evening is over, you all will have some ideas for things that you want to pursue in life and things you want to make sure you get done in the Honors College while you're here. And I told Dr. Cobain I wanted to start with the fact that I was at the Honors College by accident. It was completely unintentional. It's actually a really funny story, but I'm so glad that I ended up being a part of the Honors College because it changed my life forever in so many ways. So how many Governor Scholars in here? Anybody? Yes. I was a Governor Scholar, went to Center in 2007, and one of the best friends that I made at GSP was Megan Dunleavy. And Megan and I kept up with each other some our senior year, but after graduation we kind of lost touch for that summer. And I had no idea that she was going to be the very first face that I saw at the very first class I had as a freshman, which was an honors intro to journalism class. So that the odds of that are just astronomical, and it was meant to be because she and I developed a beautiful friendship, and she became my roommate at the Honors College for the next 3 years and the maid of honor at my wedding. And there we are. Aren't we adorable? The photo on the left is Megan and I at GSP in 2007. Clearly we were really into fashion and too much makeup. And the photo on the right is Megan and I when we first started living together here in Minton Hall in 2009, that fall. And the other two are Amy Pointer and Alyssa Stevens, who were also residents for the Honors College, but they were in Bates Hall at the time. This picture was taken at the old Honors College trailer that was at the top of campus up by Cherry Hall. This was our murder mystery party night. Do you remember that? Yes, this was the very first Honors College event I ever attended, and it was so much fun, and I will never forget how that same semester we also had a scavenger hunt through all of Bowling Green. And that was another one thing that the Honors College did so well with putting us all together in these strange happenstance circumstances like murder mystery party, really? Or a scavenger hunt all over Bowling Green with people I don't know? But yes, challenge yourself and say yes to every opportunity with the Honors College that you possibly can. And I'm so glad that it became part of my life. And one of the things too that I was able to partake in with the college was being an H4 counselor. Did all of you do H4? Yes. Because I came into the Honors College as a sophomore, I didn't have the opportunity to do H4 when I was a freshman, when everyone was supposed to go through H4. And all of my Honors College friends, everyone that lived with me in Benton, in Minton, Bates, and McLean, talked about their H4 experience as a freshmen and how much they wanted to be a counselor so they could tell the incoming freshmen all about the great experiences in college they were about to begin on this new journey in their life. And I had to talk with myself and thought, I didn't get to do H4 to begin with, so I should really try to be a counselor so I can tell them what an amazing experience it is, right? No, it doesn't make any sense. But my senior year, I was able to be part of the Deer Run. Is it Deer Run? Yeah. The inaugural Deer Run trip that you all did. I was part of that. And I still keep up with all of my H4 kids. They have gone on to do amazing things with their lives. You know, Joe he went through seminary and is fantastic. Naomi works at Apple and does photography for them. And Suzanne, Suzanne's Spalding, she's just a little spitfire, I'll say that. But I keep up with all of my students, and it's one of those things where the honors relationships you make now will be with you your entire life. And that sounds cliche and crazy to think about, but it's true, because thanks to social media, you have a whole new way of constantly keeping in contact with people and seeing what they're doing with their lives. And I check in with these guys a couple times a year, we talk, and it's amazing to have that down-to-earth relationship with someone for such a long time. Moving on to a couple of other college experiences here. You know, when we started talking tonight, you all heard that my majors were news and editorial journalism and history. And I wanted to get involved with student organizations that were somehow related to my major. So I decided I was going to join the Talisman staff. At that time, the Talisman was an actual printed yearbook. It's not anymore, but believe it or not, it used to be. It's crazy how things change when you get old. But these young people over here were the Talisman Writers staff for my sophomore year. And obviously, we had a really nerdy photo shoot for our Talisman photos that year. And all of these people, almost I believe, are ones that I am still in contact with pretty much once a week or once a month. You don't realize how often you're going to be seeing these people in your life after college until you think, oh, well, these people had the same interest as me. We talked all the time, we hung out all the time, and now they're the ones that are still on Bowling Green, and even the ones who aren't, we still have the same interest and the same background. So we work together on projects, we work together on work-related projects, we work together on hobbies. Monica Spees, who is now Monica Ramsey, she's the one in the Batman shirt and suspenders. She married one of my absolute best friends that I met at my first full-time job at my office, and now my husband and I hang out with Monica and her husband on a regular basis. And it's just crazy how so many of these things come full circle, and you all will realize that the relationships you have now will be the relationships that you keep forever. And my husband is over there hiding. Wave, Jeremy. Yes, that's my husband, Jeremy. We've been married for 5 years, and my mom is sitting next to him. My mom's never heard me speak. So, hi, Mom. My mom was a teacher for 28 years, and I got to watch her teach, and she taught me how to grade papers, and that's where I became such a great writer and a great communicator. So when you got to read my 30 pages of blue books, you can thank her for instilling all of that in me. Let's see, what am I forgetting here? Student government. Yes, if any of you all have not been involved in student government or been somehow involved with SGA, I highly recommend it. I didn't put any photos in here for me, but I spent a year as a student senator on campus, and I realized very quickly that writing bills was not necessarily the type of writing that I was good at, but it keeps your ear to the ground with all kinds of interesting things happening around campus, and you know, what's going on here or there, what are the issues, and outside from the student publications office where the Herald and Talisman live, the student government is where so many things happen. So I highly recommend all of you all somehow get involved in student government in some way. And I did spend one single semester working for the Herald. It's nothing against the Herald at all, it just wasn't my cup of tea. They got me to be the opinion editor for a single semester, and all I did was write editorial and poll students for what they were thinking for the week. And the editorial board got into some really heated, angry discussions, and there were a lot of nights that we couldn't even decide what our view was going to be on said topic. So I felt like I was walking on eggshells even in my own office. And that's when I really decided that talisman reporting was what I wanted to do, and I wanted to be a storyteller more than anything. I didn't like hard news. I didn't like the sad part of news. I wanted to tell feel-good stories, and that's why the talisman ended up being the best fit for me. And even though I don't do journalism-related work for my full-time job, I've been able to make it work through my Throwback Thursday reporting for WNKY. We didn't talk about that in the introduction here, but I'll get more into that later. I'm able to tie in my history degrees and my journalism degrees into a weekly TV segment for our CBS and NBC affiliate. It's on at 6:45 in the morning every Thursday. I'm sure you're probably not awake, but it goes live on their website after that in the afternoons that day. And you can see all of them later, but I'll talk more about that soon. Where do I want to go from here? Let's talk about honors classes and that experience. Like I said before, I stepped into honors by accident. It was an honors introductory to journalism class, and my advisor at the time was Paula Quinn, and she was teaching the class. And she said, "You're going to stay in this. It's an honors program. You're not necessarily part of the college yet, but maybe after this class you'll want to sign up and be part of it and be part of that community." And I did. I absolutely loved it. The honors college classes were smaller. Teachers had the opportunity to be more involved and to get to know their students better. And I have to tell you though, my favorite honors class of all was the history of witchcraft. Took it senior year. I will never forget, we walked in, and the very first sentence that the professor said was, "This is not about Harry Potter. This is history of witchcraft, the real witchcraft." And 2 students got up and walked out. I'm serious. We all thought it was hysterical, but these people thought it was the history of Harry Potter. It wasn't. I could tell you a little bit more about the prophets of the Old Testament, the witches, and how all of these female thoughts about what women were supposed to be like and why they were going on witch hunts, and you all know all that. But that was a great, great class. It was my favorite. My colloquia class was the World in 2030, and that one was a thinker. Every time we would go into class, we would be presented with what the teacher expected to be a global crisis in the year 2030, and so far a lot of things have indeed come to pass, but we were given the opportunity to work together, kind of like Leslie Knope in her emergency preparedness, where you had all these catastrophes that you had to solve at once in Parks and Rec. And after every class, everybody was always drained because it was a major process to get through, how to solve a global crisis. But it taught us how to do real life problem solving, and it was a wonderful way for us to get us to kind of think critically and figure out these solutions outside the box. And like I said, a lot of the things that were global crises have indeed come to pass compared to the colloquia from 2012 for what the world would look like in 2030. But, when it came down to it, I wanted to be a storyteller more than anything, and combining history and journalism has turned out to be the absolute blessing and passion of my life, because I've been able to freelance and write outside of what I'm doing for a full-time job, because you don't want what you're doing to feel like homework. Because there were many nights when the Middle Ages class, Dr. Weigel, there were many nights that I just thought, okay, I have to get through this. I have to get through this reading. It's just, you taught it. But Dr. Weigel's Ancient Rome class, though, I thought that he was one of the Roman emperors. You would get up there and you would talk about so much, and just, I feel like our jaws would drop in every class because you were so well versed and knew everything. And Serafini's classes, I liked his class so much that, remember I took that one twice because I worked as a student note taker and I just took notes for students with disabilities who couldn't take notes. I took lectures more than once because I loved them so much, but I also wanted to make a difference. So I was helping the students that couldn't take notes, but listening to your incredible storytelling. And because that's the thing with history too. So many students don't enjoy social studies in high school or don't like history in high school because they think it's just a list of dates and don't associate it with real world trends or real people. But history is just a collection of stories of people just like you and me, and their decisions made impacts on the entire world. So why not tell those stories, and why not be a part of those stories? It's another reason why I love doing what I do for the TV station. I happened to be part of the Leadership Bowling Green class in 2014, and one of its members with me was the general manager of our local TV station, WNKY. And she was about to launch a brand new morning show, live news program, and they were trying to figure out what daily themes they wanted to have every week. You know, there's a Monday motivator, a Tuesday this, a Wednesday that. She asked if I would be interested in helping out with a throwback idea for their Thursdays. They had hired some producers from Nashville to come in and launch the show for them. And at the time, I was working at the Bowling Green Visitors Bureau office in tourism, and I had a list of all of these historic places around Bowling Green that I sent to the TV station and said, hey, you should do stories on them. But these producers from Nashville didn't know what any of these things were. They just went to Google and said, okay, here's Lost River Cave. Oh, it looks like they camped here and it's got a really cool chandelier. No, that's not the whole story of Lost River Cave. So after a few weeks of them realizing that it became more and more difficult to do some research and actually tell good stories, the station general manager asked if I would be interested in helping them script some things. And because I had the journalism degree in writing background and history, a couple months later I was writing all of the scripts for them, and they asked if I would consider being the voice of the segment as well. And here we are 5 years later. I will not name any names, but I will say one of the broadcast professors in my intro to broadcast class said that I did not have a voice for broadcast and that I could never work in broadcast because I could never train my voice correctly. So take that. Take that. But it was not Mac. It was not Mac. Yes, Matt McCarroll was my news and editorial advisor for, was it junior and senior year, I believe? Yes, I switched from Paula over to you, and you helped me make so many major decisions, and your press law class was hard. It was hard. It was not my favorite. I'll just tell you that right now. But Matt McCarroll helped me figure out, you know, you could actually do history and journalism as a double major, and there's so many things that you could do with both of these things. And, you know, if you go back and wanted to get a few more credit hours in, you could be a teacher and teach one of these things. So there's so many different avenues you could take with this stuff. Just explore as many of them as you possibly can. And let's see, I have gone way off my script. Why do I always do that? Always. Let's see. So the senior capstone for the journalism school in 2012 was bringing in an outside teacher from a school at the University of Texas. She had lots and lots of real-time newsroom experience, about 30-something years worth. And she told us on day one that she was going to make us feel like every day in her class was the craziest, busiest time in the newsroom. The pressure we were going to feel was going to be exactly what you would feel if you were in a real-life newsroom, and that she was going to do her best to be probably the harshest editor we had ever had before, just to give us a taste of what some of the serious scenarios would be. And that's another time when I thought, okay, once again, I'm not interested in the hard news. I'm interested in a different type of storytelling, more feel-good, more history, more of these types of things. And by the time graduation hit, I was exhausted with journalism. I knew that I didn't want to give up on it completely, but I wanted to take a little bit of a break because of the intense newsroom atmosphere that she had put on on all of us for the entire semester. That was not the kind of newsroom that I was shooting for. So right after graduation, I forgot to tell you all this, Gary gave me a hug. He didn't just shake my hand, I asked for a hug that day at graduation. But about 1 week after this picture was taken, there was a School of Journalism post in one of our Facebook forums about Lost River Cave in Bowling Green looking for a communications and marketing intern just for the summer months during its busy tourism season. I thought, okay, I took some introductory classes in communications and marketing. I don't know what this exactly could be, but do I have to really start the real world right away? Do I really want to get a full-time job a week after graduation? No, I want to take my time and ease into it. So I ended up taking this Lost River Cave internship. It was just 20 hours a week, and it was one of those things where I knew it would be steady work just through the summer, but then give me the chance to really look for jobs that would be more something that I wanted to do full time for the rest of my life. But it's not really for the rest of your life. Don't ever think that. That's what they want you to think when you're in elementary school, but it's not for the rest of your life. So at Lost River Cave, I soon came to realize that there was a lot more to this attraction tourism thing that meets the eye. Nothing in any of the classes I had was able to prepare me for the world of tourism. There is a hospitality program on campus, but the hospitality program doesn't really teach you about tourism either, I soon came to find out. As it turns out, Lost River Cave was wanting to launch their inaugural Scarecrow Trail event. Has anyone walked the Scarecrow Trail at Lost River Cave? Okay, go. It opens this weekend and runs through the rest of October. It's free. You have no excuse not to go. Go walk their trails. They'll have 75 scarecrows built by community organizations. That very first year, the goal was to have 40 scarecrows lining the trails of this nature center, and we ended up with 45 for the summer. We hit the goal, and it was my opportunity to learn sales a little bit, learn sponsorship, fundraising a little bit, and I was blessed that the director of Lost River Cave took me to every single appointment she had. She took me to board meetings, she took me to tourism meetings, which is where I fell backwards into what became my full-time career. The Bowling Green Area Convention and Visitors Bureau is a mouthful and absolutely ridiculous when you don't ever Google Bowling Green Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, because nothing exciting will pop up except Visit BGKY. I'm born and raised here in Bowling Green. My family has had a farm about 15 minutes outside of the city for at least 130 years that I can find documentation for, and I still live there. My parents live 3 hills away from where my husband and I live, and my granddad lives on the hill that is between the two of us. And I had no desire to leave my hometown. You do need to go study abroad, which I will touch on my regrets on that later, but I loved Bowling Green. I didn't want to leave it. And when I found out there was a real-life, full-time job where I could tell stories about Bowling Green and try to tell other people to please come enjoy Bowling Green and have a good time, I thought this is perfect. This is exactly what I want to do. So I took the PR coordinator position in the fall of 2012, and I got to do fun stuff. Like this view here is is from the inside of a World War II bomber plane that I was riding on with 3 other Bowling Green media. And my parents and husband did not realize that I would actually be up in the air in it. They thought I would just go check it out at the airport. But whenever fun, exciting, tourist-related things came to Bowling Green, I got to have opportunities like that. Does anyone know the Map Dot crew? Has anyone seen them? They may be a little bit too old for you all. Okay, I'm the one on the right, wearing the hat. The Map Dot crew is something that I was blessed to be a part of in this tourism position. Corey Ramsey, the guy on the right, he is a WKU broadcast journalism alum from, I believe, 2001, maybe 2002. He was a Bowling Green radio personality on what's now 107.1 Woohoo, but back then it was the Gator. But in his full-time position, he works at Magna Metal Forming, and he got laid off in 2013 and decided he was going to travel to all 120 counties in Kentucky in 1 year and write about one of the map dots at least that he visits along the way. Map dots are these small towns, interesting stories, interesting characters, figures. He caught the attention of the state Kentucky Adventure Tourism Department because he was traveling these lesser-known roads and lesser-known highways through all of the Bluegrass State and telling stories about places that are in our own backyards that we've never even heard of and never been to. So he took the opportunity to create a traveling road tripping crew and made Bowling Green his headquarters. He lived here. He was from Hickman, and we took a field trip to Hickman in 2009 with one of Paula Quinn's classes. We got lost on the way, but we did learn some things, Mac, I promise. But anyway, the Map Dot crew, we traveled all over southern Kentucky, and we were writing, blogging, posting on our social medias, and the Bowling Green Tourism Office acted as the liaison for that. So I got to literally travel Kentucky telling stories and have fun with it. But it grew into something that office had never done before and Kentucky Tourism had never done before, because in, I believe it was 2015, the Kentucky Department of Travel and Tourism decided they were going to kick it up a notch and start figuring out ways to attract major journalists, major bloggers and influencers to come to Kentucky, have our experiences, and share with all of their outlets and all of their audiences. So for the inaugural trip, they hired a New York travel PR agency called Lou Hammond Group to put together a mint julep and bourbon tasting event. And that photograph is taken in New York City during the Woodford and mint julep event, where myself and 4 other people representing different cities in Kentucky got to meet about 30 New York-based journalists and tell them the Kentucky story about bourbon, horses, and horsepower, because Bowling Green is the home of Corvette. And what better way to tie into bourbon and horses than horsepower and telling the Corvette story, which is why I used to give, instead of just business cards, I used to give mini Corvettes as my business card to these journalists. They were the little mini ones that you could pull back on your desk and they would zoom at you. And that's how I would end my appointments with these people at their desks. I got to travel to New York City, Atlanta, Chicago, Birmingham. Here we are at the CNN building, just to tell stories about the state I love and the hometown that I love. And it turned into the biggest PR effort that the city of Bowling Green as a destination had ever done before. And it grew to the point where Bowling Green started hosting these amazing media tours for people from all over the country and eventually the world that never would have even heard of us had we not partnered up with that agency to begin with. The screenshot on the left, if you get on Instagram right now and search the hashtag BG Boondoggle, you will find almost 500 posts from just a 3-day event that I hosted here a couple of years ago. Do you know what it's like to have 50 family mommy bloggers on a tour of Bowling Green in a couple of tour buses? It's very challenging. It was very fun. Obviously, they had a good time, but there's a network called Macaroni Kid that is made up of about 700 bloggers around the country, all within their respective cities and markets, giving recommendations to families for things to do. And the top 50 Macaroni Kid bloggers were called Silver Daisies, and every year the Silver Daisies get to have some sort of retreat to celebrate their hard work and go to a destination where they could take their family and have a good time too. So here we are in Bowling Green. You can see a little bit of where we took them. We went to the Kentucky Museum and dressed up. We had a whole night at a Bowling Green Hot Rods game. We went to Cheney's, of course, you have to. We did a butterfly release at Lost River Cave, where they actually got to hold the frozen butterflies until they thawed out and went flying through the butterfly habitat. But the coolest thing for me about this event was that we did something at our historic rail park and train museum that had never been done. If no one's been to the rail park, they have not only a museum of Kentucky history in railroading and Bowling Green Railroad history, but they also have a tour that goes through true train cars that all have some kind of tie on the L&N Railroad and tie to Bowling Green. We set them up with Corsair Distillery bourbon tasting and White Squirrel beer tasting on the old train in the old cars. And that was their opening night's event, and they had an amazing time. Bowling Green ended up getting, I want to say, a little over 1 million impressions from this event only, and over $400,000 worth of estimated advertising value in what only cost our office about $18,000 at the time. These are the kind of events that I got to do for a living. The picture on the right, those people are from radio stations, from drive markets around Bowling Green. Let's see, Lexington, Nashville, Cincinnati, southern Chicago, even Atlanta. And we had these radio DJs bring their shows and do live remote shows to their audiences at home, talking about Bowling Green and what they're doing and all the fun things to do in Bowling Green. And we gave them just the same kind of, royal treatment like we gave the Silver Daisies. And then they gave away trips to Bowling Green to their listeners and told them to come see us. And I maintain all of those relationships to this day, and that was 4 years ago. And I've been able to partner with them on other radio giveaways and have their audiences still talk about, and have their audiences still hear about Bowling Green 5 years later, because relationships matter. And these are media people. I came from a media world, and we bonded over those, but they had such a good time in Bowling Green that they wanted to tell their audiences to come back. And 2 of them actually have come back. The guys from Lexington and Nashville come here every couple of years and still do things in Green. And these are the kind of things that I had no idea even could be full-time jobs. Nothing prepared me for this kind of opportunity, but my communications, writing, journalism, and storytelling backgrounds are what made me so good at telling Bowling Green stories and being enthusiastic about Bowling Green to all these people. So on top of all of these things, at this position, I was also teaching our frontline staff at Bowling Green hotels and restaurants and attractions about hospitality and tourism offerings so that they could recommend things to do. Because when you're in a foreign city and you check in at the hotel, the first thing you do is ask the front desk, well, where's the best place for barbecue? Or where should I go do this? And so many of our frontline staff in Bowling Green don't know because they're not from here or because they haven't explored something in their own hometown or in their own backyard. So it's my duty to tell these people all the amazing things Bowling Green does have to offer. And we also started a partnership with WKU Admissions here, and for several years we had a booth at the parent orientation fairs where we would give visitors guides to parents so they would know what their kids could be up to, and give visitors guides to the kids too to tell them what to do outside campus. Because, you know, for a long time, freshmen were told that you need to stay on campus and make those relationships and get to know Bowling Green that way, and then once you're a sophomore, go outside the bubble of campus and explore. And we want to make sure that we have all the resources available for these kids, because Bowling Green has all kinds of great things going on, and they don't even realize it when they're just right next door to it, or they're living right next door to downtown. But moving on, I had an opportunity to experience the other side of the tourism and hospitality industry because the Convention and Visitors Bureau's budget is funded through hotel tax dollars. So I made a lot of friends at Bowling Green hotels while I was working there, and I had an opportunity to do sales and marketing for the Courtyard Marriott Hotel here in Bowling Green, and decided I wanted to take a stab at that and see what it was like from the corporate and business side of travel. And y'all, I had no idea. I had only been talking to tourists who are here on weekends, but all of the manufacturing, all the corporate businesses, they keep hotels in Bowling Green full Sunday to Thursday. More than half the week they're here, and I had the opportunity to get more involved with the Chamber of Commerce in their regard, and more opportunities to get involved in local leadership taking that role. So what you're seeing here on the left is my first foray into the Bowling Green Marketing Association. I was able to join as a local member when I took the Courtyard position, and I was able to be a programs director for them. And I hosted, for one of my very first meetings, a media panel of Bowling Green radio, magazines, newspaper, and TV. And all of my media world friends that I knew from my past life had the chance to talk about what they were looking for in coverage. How do you pitch media? How do you talk to media and speak their language so that you know, well, they're on deadline, they need this, or they don't send them a whole 9-paragraph pitch, they're not going to read it, you know, things like that. And I had the chance to take on more leadership opportunities because I was in more of a localized role than at the tourism position. So I was able to do their programs for a year, and then I ran their communications for another year and got experience with more social media management and website development. And then I got to be their president in 2020. And do you know how odd it is to be a marketing association president during a pandemic when your members are asking you, what message do I put out there to my clients and my audience? And I said, I don't know. I'm in hotels and travel is shut down. So it gave me an opportunity to also take on some real world problems because you all know ad nauseum, COVID changed everything, the pandemic changed everything. And yes, that's true, only I went from sales and marketing to front desk, laundry, and housekeeping overnight. And we cut 75% of our staff at our hotels, and it was devastating. And for 3 months, I worked a 3 to 11 shift. And it was a whole new world for me, and I gained a whole new sense of respect for all the frontline staff, all our laundry and housekeepers, and it changed the whole way that I look at the industry. And it forced us to realize from the Bowling Green Lodging Association perspective that we need workforce development. We need to figure out how to recruit people into hospitality and into tourism, because they used to just show up like I did. by accident. And that's just not the case anymore. So I do serve the Bowling Green Lodging Association. Like Ralphie said, I'm their secretary. I have been for the past 3 years, and we are now working with the Chamber of Commerce in their SCK launch experience for high school students. We're working on putting more job fairs together for hospitality and tourism, just to try to educate high schoolers and college students that there are so many other avenues you can use hospitality for full-time work than just a front desk clerk, or a hostess or a bartender. There's so many other opportunities out there, and so many new ones that aren't even created yet. And that's the beauty of this industry. And one of the other things I had to put on here was I also got to be a board member of our historic rail park and train museum for a year and put on their big fundraiser in 2019. And it was a USO themed 3-night extravaganza where I emceed a true World War II style, canteen style show where we had the girls selling fake candy cigarettes and selling all kinds of fun stuff. We had the girls dressed up like the Andrews sisters. You probably don't know who they are, but you all know who they are. And we had a wonderful time, and I got to pursue one of my passions even more so in developing a major event for one of Bowling Green's most historic, not just attractions, but truly historic landmarks that there's all kinds of history. I'm not gonna go. I know I'm running short on time because you want them to be able to ask questions. Yada, yada, yada. I've won some awards. When you're passionate about something, it shows and people notice and you get recognized for your achievement. There's me just saying, hey, I'm about to be president of the Marketing Association. Here's my awards. And tourism awards are just fun because you get to, talk about tourism. All right, and here I am on the float for the WNKY TV Christmas parade a couple years ago. And if you search Throwback Thursday on WNKY.com, all of my stories will come up. That's just the most recent version of them. But I think that website goes back about 2 years. So if you want to read any of the things that I talk about, there's how you get there. And here's where I've been able to write independently. Bowling Green Living magazine is no longer in print, like so much print media, but I was able to still write a little bit for them. And I also write for VIP Bowling Green. And here's what we did in response to COVID, a selfie scavenger hunt from wherever you are at home. And there's me in the bottom corner with the Fonz. I hope you all know who the Fonz is, but I got to meet him too, which was also a lot of fun. And this is really the end of the road. This was me saying goodbye to the hotel sales and starting my new journey just 2 months ago at the club at Old Stone. It is considered a private neighborhood and golf course, country club style community. However, they're in this transition period where they're becoming more of a resort style golf community and club. They have a mini lodge that is a 12-room all-suite hotel that functions the same way as a hotel does, and all 12 rooms are Kentucky themed, and they tell Kentucky stories like bourbon, moonshine, still, derby, horses, all those fun things. So I get to tell Kentucky stories through the lodge while I am doing marketing and membership for the club. And I'm trying to still navigate my way through what all that means, but it sounds good and it sounds fun, and I'm gonna make it fun. And that's really where we are, and I know I'm almost out of time.
You said you were talking about regret.
Regret. Study abroad. I was able in 2019 to take my very first trip abroad. My husband and I went to Ireland for a couple of weeks, and it was absolutely incredible and amazing. And I told him that I wished I had taken advantage of the Harlexton program or any kind of study abroad program when I was here. My roommate, Megan, she got to go to Italy through the Image West agency here. And she told me I should have done Image West and I should have done it. And I said, that's not my tract. That's not what I'm doing with my life. And I also regret, just not studying abroad in some way. And the honors experience for me was just different. It was a total accident, but it changed my life, as you all can see, in so many ways. And one other thing, there are people in the honors community right now that are around the same age as you that you probably don't even know, and here in about 7 or 8 years, your paths are going to cross in the professional world, and you will have the honors community in common, and you will bond over that instantly, and you will realize you've made a whole new best friend. 2 of those people I've kind of re-met, I guess you could say, for the first time about a year and a half ago. And now Caitlin Greenwell and Sam Kirby are 2 of my absolute best friends, and we do projects for work together and hang out outside work all the time. So keep that in mind too. What do you think? Questions, comments?
With your background in Butler tourism, what's the number one thing you recommend?
You have to go to the Corvette Museum, you have to go to Lost River Cave, and you need to go to Mammoth Cave. They just discovered 8 more miles of it here a few weeks ago. Yes?
What's your personal favorite attraction?
Personal favorite? I'm going to have to go with Lost River Cave just because it was the one that opened the doors for me. You know, it's an underground boat tour. They've got walking trails, they have a classroom outside, and they have a zip line. That's a lot of fun.
You mentioned how important your classes were, history, the faculty, and you guys told journalism, the experience of being an honor. But what really seemed to set you off on your course of your career was that internship. As we've got a group of young alums, young scholars here who may be interested, what advice do you have for them in looking for internships, getting involved, and do you have any connections for them?
Yes. If you have an internship opportunity, please explore it. If it's in a place that you're not sure if you want to work, just really consider it highly. Lost River Cave was way out of my wheelhouse, or so I thought, but I took the leap anyway. And in terms of hospitality and tourism internships, we are always looking for help at Old Stone. I'm looking right now for a marketing intern to help me with our website and our social media and graphic design. So if you have any interest in any of those things, please talk to me. And in terms of just all hospitality in Bowling Green, and I'm sure in other cities too, most cities have some sort of organization that their tourism attractions and hotels are all working together with, and ours is the Bowling Green Lodging Association. We have 2 $500 scholarships we give out every year, 1 per semester. One of them is through the College Heights Foundation, and it's endowed, so I'm sure you'll find it on that portal. And the other is directly through the association. And all you have to do is fill out the online portal survey for the College Heights Foundation one, or be employed by any form of hospitality in Bowling Green to qualify for the other. They are out there. You just have to give the effort to do a little bit of searching. But we offer them, and I could always use help. I'm looking for help right now. Thank you guys for having me. I hope you enjoyed yourself and learned a little something, or at least got some entertainment out of it. Thank you.